6. Place, Bagh Bazar, Calcutta, year 1897. Swamiji has been staying for some days at the house of the late Balaram Babu. At his wish, a large number of devotees of Sri Ramakrishna have assembled at the house at 3 p.m. on May 1, 1897. Swami Yogananda is amongst those present here. The object of Swamiji is to form an association. When all present had taken their seats, Swamiji proceeded to speak as follows. The conviction has grown in my mind after all my travels in various lands that no great cause can succeed without an organization. In a country like ours, however, it does not seem quite practicable to me to start an organization at once with a democratic basis or work by general voting. People in the West are more educated in this respect and less jealous of one another than ourselves. They have learned to respect merit. Take, for instance, my case. I was just an insignificant man there, and yet see how cordially they received and entertained me. When, with the spread of education, the masses in our country grow more sympathetic and liberal, when they learn to have their thoughts expanded beyond the limits of sect or party, then it will be possible to work on the democratic basis of organization. For this reason, it is necessary to have a dictator for this society. Everybody should obey him, and then in time, we may work on the principle of general voting. Let this association be named after him, in whose name indeed we have embraced the monastic life, with whom as your ideal in life you all toil on the field of work from your station in family life, within 20 years of whose passing away a wonderful diffusion of his holy name and extraordinary life has taken place both in the East and the West. We are the servants of the Lord. Be you all helpers in this cause. When Srijat Girish Chandra Ghosh and all other householder disciples present had approved of the above proposal, the future program of the Society of Sri Ramakrishna was taken up for discussion. The society was named the Ramakrishna Mission. Swamiji himself became the general president of the mission, and other office bearers also were elected. The rule was laid down that the association should hold meetings at the house of Balaram Babu every Sunday at 4 p.m. Needless to say that Swamiji used to attend these meetings whenever convenient. When the meeting had broken up and the members departed, addressing Swami Yogananda, Swamiji said, "So the work is now begun this way. Let us see how far it succeeds by the will of Sri Ramakrishna." Swami Yogananda, you are doing these things with Western methods. Should you say Sri Ramakrishna left us any such instructions? Swamiji, well, how do you know that all this is not on Sri Ramakrishna's lines? He had an infinite breadth of feeling, and dare you shut him up with your own limited views of life? I will break down these limits and scatter broadcast over the earth his boundless inspiration. He never instructed me to introduce any rites of his own worship. We have to realize the teachings he has left us about religious practice and devotion, concentration and meditation, and such higher ideas and truths, and then preach these to all men. The infinite number of faiths are only so many paths. I haven't been born to found one more sect in a world already teeming with sects. We have been blessed with obtaining refuge at the feet of the Master, and we are born to carry his message to the dwellers of the three worlds. Swami Yogananda uttered no word of dissent, and so Swamiji continued. Time and again have I received in this life marks of his grace. He stands behind and gets all this work done by me. When lying helpless under a tree in an agony of hunger, when I had not even a scrap of cloth for kaupina, when I was resolved on travelling penniless round the world, even then help came in all ways by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. And again when crowds jostled with one another in the streets of Chicago to have a sight of this Vivekananda, then also, just because I had his grace, I could digest without difficulty all that honour, 100th part of which would have been enough to turn mad any ordinary man, and by his will, victory followed everywhere. Now I must conclude by doing something in this country. So casting all doubt away, please help my work, and you will find everything fulfilled by his will. Swami Yogananda, yes, whatever you will shall be fulfilled. And are we not all ever obedient to you? Now and then I do clearly see how Sri Ramakrishna is getting all these things done through you. And yet, to speak plainly, some misgiving rises at intervals, for as we saw it, his way of doing things was different. So I question myself, Are we sure that we are not going astray from Sri Ramakrishna's teachings? And so I take the opposing attitude and warn you. Swamiji, you see, the fact is that Sri Ramakrishna is not exactly what the ordinary followers have comprehended him to be. He had infinite moods and phases. Even if you might form an idea of the limits of Brahmagnana, the knowledge of the Absolute, you could not have any idea of the unfathomable depths of his mind. Thousands of Vivekanandas may spring forth through one gracious glance of his eyes. But instead of doing that, he has chosen to get things done this time through me as his single instrument. And what can I do in this matter, you see? Saying this, Swamiji left to attend to something else waiting for him, and Swami Yogananda went on praising Swamiji's versatile gifts. Meanwhile, Swamiji returned and asked the disciple, "Do the people in your part of the country know much of Sri Ramakrishna?" Disciple, "Only one man, Nag Mahachaya, came to Sri Ramakrishna from our part of Bengal. It is from him that many came to hear of him and had their curiosity excited to know more. But that Sri Ramakrishna was the incarnation of God, the people there have not yet come to know, and some would not believe it even if told so." Swamiji, do you think it is an easy matter to believe so? We who had actual dealings with him in every respect, we who heard of that fact again and again from his own lips, we who lived and stayed with him for 24 hours of the day, even we off and on have doubts about it coming over us. So what to speak of others? Disciple, did Sri Ramakrishna out of his own lips ever say that he was God, the all-perfect Brahman? Swamiji, yes, he did so many times. And he said this to all of us. One day, while he was staying at the Kosipur garden, his body in imminent danger of falling off forever, by the side of his bed, I was saying in my mind, "Well, now if you can declare that you are God, then only will I believe you are really God himself." It was only 2 days before he passed away. Immediately he looked up towards me all on a sudden and said, "He who was Rama, he who was Krishna, verily is he now Ramakrishna in this body." And that not merely from the standpoint of your Vedanta. At this I was struck dumb. Even we haven't had yet the perfect faith. After hearing it again and again from the holy lips of our Lord himself, our minds still get disturbed now and then with doubt and despair. And so, what shall we speak of others being slow to believe? It is indeed a very difficult matter to be able to declare and believe a man with a body like ours to be God himself. We may just go to the length of declaring him to be a perfected one or a knower of Brahman. Well, it matters nothing, whatever you may call him or think of him, a saint or a knower of Brahman or anything. But take it from me, never did come to this earth such an all-perfect man as Sri Ramakrishna. In the utter darkness of the world, this great man is like the shining pillar of illumination in this age. And by his light alone will man now cross the ocean of samsara. Disciple, to me it seems, sir, that true faith comes only after actually seeing or hearing something. Mathur Babu, I have heard, actually saw so many things about Sri Ramakrishna, and thus he had that wonderful faith in him. Swamiji, he who believes not even after seeing, and thinks that it is all hallucination or dream and so on. The great transfiguration of Krishna, the Vishvarupa, form universal, was seen alike by Duryodhana and by Arjuna. But only Arjuna believed, while Duryodhana took it to be magic. Unless he makes us understand, nothing can be stated or understood. Somebody comes to the fullest faith even without seeing or hearing, while somebody else remains plunged in doubt even after witnessing with his own eyes various extraordinary powers for 12 years. The secret of it all is his grace, but then one must persevere so that the grace may be received. Disciple, is there, sir, any law of grace? Swamiji, yes and no. Disciple, how is that? Swamiji, those who are pure always in body, mind and speech, who have strong devotion, who discriminate between the real and the unreal, who persevere in meditation and contemplation, upon them alone the grace of the Lord descends. The Lord, however, is beyond all natural laws, is not under any rules and regulations, or just as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, he has the child's nature. And that's why we find some failing to get any response even after calling on him for millions of births. while someone else whom we regard as a sinful or penitent man or a disbeliever would have illumination in a flash. On the latter, the Lord perhaps lavishes His grace quite unsolicited. You may argue that this man had good merits stored up from previous life, but the mystery is really difficult to understand. Sri Ramakrishna used to say sometimes, "Do rely on Him, be like the dry leaf at the mercy of the wind." And again he would say, "The wind of His grace is always blowing. What you need to do is to unfurl your sail." Disciple: "But sir, this is a most tremendous statement. No reasoning, I see, can stand here." Swamiji: "Ah, all reasoning and arguing is within the limit of the realm of Maya. It lies within the categories of space, time, and causation. But He is beyond these categories. We speak of His law, still He is beyond all law. He creates or becomes all that we speak of as laws of nature, and yet He is outside of them all. He on whom His grace descends in a moment goes beyond all law. For this reason, there is no condition in grace. It is as His play or sport, and this creation of the universe is like His play. Lokavattu lila kaivalyam. It is the pure delight of sport, as in the case of men. Vedanta Sutras, 2nd, 1:33. Is it not possible for Him who creates and destroys the universe as if in play to grant salvation by grace to the greatest sinner? But then it is just His pleasure, His play, to get somebody through the practice of spiritual discipline and somebody else without it. Disciple: "Sir, I can't understand this." Swamiji: "And you needn't. Only get your mind to cling to Him as far as you can, for then only the great magic of this world will break of itself. But then you must persevere. You must take off your mind from lust and lucre, must discriminate always between the real and the unreal, must settle down into the mood of bodilessness with the brooding thought that you are not this body, and must always have the realization that you are the all-pervading Atman. This persevering practice is called Purushakara, self-exertion, as distinguished from grace. By such self-exertion will come true reliance on Him, and that is the goal of human achievement." After a pause, Swamiji resumed, "Had you not been receiving His grace, why else would you come here at all? Sri Ramakrishna used to say, those who have had the grace of God cannot but come here. Wherever they might be, whatever they might be doing, they are sure to be affected by words or sentiments uttered from here. Just take your own case. Do you think it is possible without the grace of God to have the blessed company of Nag Mahashaya, a man who rose to spiritual perfection through the strength of divine grace and came to know fully what this grace really means? Aneka janma samsiddhas tato yati parangatim. One attains the highest stage after being perfected by the practice of repeated births. Gita, chapter 6, verse 45. It is only by virtue of great religious merit acquired through many births that one comes across a great soul like him. All the characteristics of the highest type of bhakti spoken of in the scriptures have manifested themselves in Nag Mahashaya. It is only in him that we actually see fulfilled the widely quoted text, Tranadapi Sunichena. Blessed indeed is your East Bengal to have been hallowed by the touch of Nag Mahashaya's feet. While speaking thus, Swamiji rose to pay a visit to the great poet Babu Girish Chandra Ghosh. Swami Yogananda and the disciple followed him. Reaching Girish Babu's place, Swamiji seated himself and said, "You see, GC, the impulse is constantly coming nowadays to my mind to do this and to do that, to scatter broadcast on earth the message of Sri Ramakrishna and so on. But I pause again to reflect, lest all this give rise to another sect in India. So I have to work with a good deal of caution. Sometimes I think, what if a sect does grow up? But then again the thought comes, no, Sri Ramakrishna never disturbed anybody's own spiritual outlook. He always looked at the inner sameness. Often do I restrain myself with this thought. Now what do you say?" Girish Babu: "What can I say to this? You are the instrument in his hand. You have to do just what he would have you do. I don't trouble myself over the detail, but I see that the power of the Lord is getting things done by you. I see it clear as daylight." Swamiji: "But I think we do things according to our own will. Yet, that in misfortunes and adversities, in times of want and poverty, He reveals himself to us and guides us along the true path. This I have been able to realize, but alas, I still fail to comprehend in any way the greatness of his power. Girish Babu. Yes, he said, if you understand it to the full, everything will at once vanish. Who will work then, or who will be made to work? After this, the talk drifted on to America, and Swamiji grew warm on his subject and went on describing the wonderful wealth of the country, the virtues and defects of men and women there, their luxury, and so on.